Hello, welcome back to the channel of nonsense and an old Second World War airbase in Suffolk. Now, for years, the Grandland has been Vauxhall's go-to family SUV, but I think it's always struggled to find its identity, really. It's been more Blandland than Grandland, but there's an all-new version. It's right here with me, rather handily for a car review video, and it is all new, and it promises to be grander and better than ever. But is it any good? Ha! Let's find out before I start pretending I'm a B-17 taking off. Yes, this is Vauxhall's new big SUV, and underneath it is very similar to the new Peugeot 3008, which I've reviewed a couple of times on the channel recently, and it's quite similar in price as well. It's 35 grand, just under 35 grand for the hybrid version of this, 37 grand for the electric version. That's quite something. There's only 2 grand in price difference between the hybrid and the full EV, and Vauxhall's doing its best to bring about price parity so you pay the same regardless of whether you get a petrol or an electric. But whatever, the top spec version, the ultimate, this one, is just over 40 grand, which does mean that next year you will pay £600 a year for car tax for this, but most of them are under 40 grand. We'll get onto that in a minute. For comparison, a Volkswagen ID4 in a similar spec is 4 grand more than this. So Vauxhall's trying to be bargainy, like it always has done. But let's talk about the looks. And I've forgotten my tripod, so you're on the floor. Sorry about that. Probably with some used condoms by some Second World War American airmen. I've lowered the bar already. We're only like 30 seconds in. Right, there is a lot to talk about this car, so this might go on a bit, but I'll try and keep it brief. It's got Vauxhall's new design language, which is called Bold and Pure, which I thought was a hearsay song, but whatever. It means you've got lots of clean surfaces. You've got this quite nice crease in the middle of the bonnet there, and you've got this signature light that goes across the front, just like pretty much every other car as well. Now, there are 3 trim levels, but the mid-spec one that everyone's going to buy is called GS. And if you pick that, you get this kind of see-through grille with the lights in, and what they call a 3D visor grille with illuminated griffin. I thought that's something I picked up in Baldur's Gate 3 the other day, but whatever, that does light up at night. It looks quite smart, I guess. If you get a mid-spec version, you get these kind of pixel LED headlights. You've got 25,600 pixels on each side, so it's a matrix LED headlight. And you get that from the mid-spec version, which is under 40 grand. That, I guess, is quite impressive. So there's lots of kit on this car, and we'll talk about that in a second. I think it looks a lot brighter, bolder and sharper than anything Vauxhall has done, well, in the past 10 years. Apart from the Monaro, that was the best car they ever did. I should also point out that Vauxhall has now joined the ranks of manufacturers that put things like play and pause signs on their car. You've got plus and minuses on the grille to signify that this new Grandland has got electric power as an option. You join me near the new Grandland's bum for a quick game of what's behind the flap. You have 2 options with this new Grandland. You can get it with a 1.2 litre PureTech engine with the 136 horsepower hybrid system that can go up to 83 miles on electric power, but if it's like the one in the new 3008, it will just basically run on petrol power most of the time. That gets 51 miles per gallon. That's boring. This electric version has got a 73 kilowatt hour usable battery. It can go for 325 miles on a charge and can charge at 160 kilowatts, so that's 20 to 80% in just under half an hour. It comes with a heat pump as standard, unlike quite a lot of its rivals, which is a good thing. When it's as cold as it is today, my hair has fallen off. There's going to be a bigger battery version coming next year, like on the 3008. That will do 425 miles. So you can go hybrid or you can go electric. Here's the cabin of the new Grandland. What you can't see from this shot is it's 5 centimetres wider than the old one. So it does just feel more spacious and you've got more shoulder room than before. Now, if you get an entry-level design model, I've remembered what it's called now, that screen's only 10 inches and all the rest of it is this massive 16-inch whopper. So your passenger can easily reach some of the controls. And you've got this little panel here which can change radio stations and stuff. So they can do stuff like that while you drive. That's great. You've got Vauxhall's version of an iCockpit. So you have got a small Peugeot-like steering wheel in this and a nice clear dashboard. But there's some differences. There are some big differences. You get a head-up display on Ultimate models, and you can actually adjust that, the head-up display where it appears in the windscreen, using, I think this is genius, the mirror control down there. So if you put that knob forward, it adjusts the head-up display, so you don't have to go through a touchscreen while you're driving. They've also given us proper sensible buttons for the climate control. And also, if you press that car button there, blurry finger, you can turn off the speed limit warning bong really easily. Not that you're going to be speeding. But yeah, there's some cool touches in here as well. You've got this thing down here, which is called the Pixel box. That is a bit of opaque plastic, and you open that lid, put your phone on the wireless charger, and it means you can see your phone is charging, but you can't really look at your phone while you're driving, which is obviously a good thing. You've also got lots of storage. So you've got this flippy thing here, which does mean your armrest doesn't adjust up and down, which I don't like, but we have that same problem in the Kia EV3 as well. That's a really big bin under there. Actually, let's show you. You lucky people. You've got a couple of USB-Cs down there. The glove box is only half width. You've got big door bins, and you have got a little sunglasses holder up there. Other things to point out, you can put the entertainment system into a pure mode, which is a bit like Saab's old night mode. It just declutters the screen and also the digital dashboard, and you can set it to automatically activate at sunset and things like that, which is just quite handy. This is refrigerated, I forgot to mention that, and because this is an ultimate model, you've got this big panoramic sunroof. You can open the front bit of it as well. It's also got the, focal, not focal, it's not focal, Vauxhall hi-fi system. It's a 10 speaker system with a subwoofer in the boot. It sounds really, really good. And of course, 100% of the fabrics in the cabin have got recycled content. So if you look closely enough, you'll see, I don't know, a Coke bottle in there. Now, Vauxhall's making a big song and dance about how comfortable its new seats are in the Grandland. They have been designed to make your tailbone float. If you look down there, you'll see you've basically got a cushion for each of your butt cheeks, so you don't get crippling backache and your tailbone can kind of be slightly suspended on longer journeys. You can also pull out the under thigh support electronically. The headrests adjust forward and backwards as well as up and down. And you can upgrade to something called IntelliSeats, which are approved by the German, I love this, Aktion gesunder Rücken. No, that isn't the code name for the U-boat battle in the Atlantic. That's the campaign for healthy backs, and they can adjust the side bolsters and all sorts of lovely stuff. You can also upgrade to Napa leather for 1,300 quid, and then you get massage seats, ventilated front seats and heated rear seats as well. So lots of nice seat options designed to not cripple you, which is a good thing, isn't it? Backseat space in the new Grandland is actually pretty good. I have got way more headroom in the back of this than the Peugeot 3008 because that's got a sloping roof, even though this has got a panoramic sunroof. I'm 6'3", and look, I am brushing the roof if I try and do it. But look, I've got more leg room, I've got foot room. It is actually really roomy, and I've got a flat floor in here as well. Now, this car is taller and just obviously a lot longer than the old Grandland, so backseat space is massively improved. But there are some thoughtful touches as well. I've got a little pocket here, so you can put your phone in there, and also you've got the usual USB-Cs in the darkness down there. Hang on. There we go, got a couple of USB-Cs down there. I don't really know what this is for. Storing cassettes, I don't know. It is a bit annoying as well that we've inherited Peugeot's flimsy feeling zips for the Isofix covers. Just expose them. I don't really care. But yeah, back seats are nice and comfortable. And on here, you've got some cup holders and a padded bit, so you don't get uncomfortable when you're leaning on it. And also, you've got, very overexposed now, hang on. And on the doors, now I've sorted the exposure out, you've got big door bins that can hold massive bottles as well. Only real negatives back here are, this is a bit plasticky there, but then this is quite nice in this ultimate version. And you've got some kind of fake carbon fibre effect look stuff here. I thought we were done in the days of fake carbon fibre, but apparently not. Sorry, you're back in the prophylactic position while I explain the next big feature of this new Vauxhall. It is 20 centimetres longer than the old Grandland. That is a huge size increase. It's now 4.65 metres long. Obviously, Vauxhall's got the new Frontera, which is going to be a bit smaller than this. Now, this electric version is quite heavy. It's 2.13 tonnes. If you get the hybrid, it's 500 kilos, half a tonne lighter. That's 1.6 tonnes. And we'll talk about the ride comfort in a minute. When we take it for a drive. Now, you get this two-tone paint on GS and Ultimate models. Ultimate is the top spec, GS is the mid-spec, and the entry level that no one's going to buy, I've actually handily forgotten. I'll put it up here. But it's got a flat underbody. It's got no chrome on it. They've made the windows kind of fit flush. It's all designed to look very clean and less chintzy than we've seen from Vauxhalls in the past. What do you think it looks like? I think it looks like a Peugeot 3008, except it hasn't got silly coupe roofline, which should mean I fit in the back of this. The American airmen in Great Britain might be overpaid, oversexed and over here, but you're down there of their genetic remains. But look at this. The back of the new Grandland actually looks, I think, quite smart. You've got full width brake light kind of things. You've got an illuminated Vauxhall logo there. And Grandland is embossed in the boot. No more stick-on badges. And Vauxhall's always had a problem where they had something like 361 different trim levels and derivatives in their range. They've whittled it down to 100. It's kind of easier to understand what Vauxhall you're buying from your dealership now. But anyway, this has front and rear parking sensors as standard on entry-level design models. If you go up to a GS model, you get a reversing camera, and if you get an Ultimate like this, you get a 360-degree camera. You get an electric boot on the top spec one as well. And the boot, which I've handily spoiled my little thing there, but whatever, the boot is 550 litres, 30 litres more than in the Peugeot, and you can actually fit taller objects in, because again, you haven't got that silly sloping roofline. The boot floor, as you've just seen, still does the thing where you can prop it up to access the cable storage space under the boot floor. It's an okay space. It's pretty big. It does look like this is too chunky though, and the boot should be a bit wider, but I can forgive it that, because 550 litres isn't to be sniffed at. Now, you can tow with this. If you get the EV, you can tow 1.2 tonnes. If you get the hybrid, it's 1.1 tonnes. That's all the facts I've got about the bum on the new Grandland. Let's take it for a drive. Right, as I drive through this massive pile of ice, I should talk about what's actually powering this electric version of the new Grandland. I've got a front wheel drive setup here, single motor with 213 horsepower. 0 to 62 is 9 seconds, so it's not a massively fast car. There is a dual motor version coming, and obviously you're going to have a bigger battery model coming as well to get that 435 mile range. I think I said 425 earlier, 435. I should talk about the ride quality, because Vauxhall's making a big song and dance about the fact that this has got frequency selective dampers, so it automatically adjusts the stiffness of the suspension based on the road conditions. And do you know what? Considering this is a 2.1, 2.2 tonne car, it is mildly less jiggly than the Peugeot 3008 for whatever reason. It's okay. It's still a bit, you feel the weight when there's compressions, and if you live in the countryside like I am at the moment, dreaming about watching Masters of the Air for the 16th time, it can get a little bit annoying in this electric version going over all these bumps, but it's not too bad. I'm being a bit critical here. Now, the hybrid version, which I'm going to get into in a minute, should ride a bit better because it's a lot lighter, but it's also got less sophisticated rear suspension than the electric version. In this, I've got multi-link rear suspension. In the hybrid, you get a torsion beam, which is cheaper and simpler, but it's a lighter car. To drive, this is just very easy to drive. If we get past all that nerdy stuff, the view out is good. The mirrors are big, that you can wave at people who are waiting for you as you go around the taxiway. The view out the corners is actually quite impressive because it's quite a boxy car. They can give it extra windows at the back, and when you are doing motorway speeds, it's a refined place to be. This is a world away from the cheap-feeling Vauxhalls of old, to be honest, and I've really enjoyed my time driving this. It's not sporty at all, and the small steering wheel, if you're not used to it from Peugeots, takes a little while to get used to, but it's actually quite handy when you do parallel parking and things like that. And obviously, the higher up the trim ranges you go, the more driving assistance stuff you get, like adaptive cruise control, assisted lane changes, and all that kind of stuff that you're probably thinking, I'll turn that off and do it myself, frankly. And you can turn it off very easily by pressing this button, then saying, I don't want lane keep assist, I don't want excessive speed warning. And there you go, it makes a noise and off it goes. So yeah, to summarise this, it's pretty comfy, performance is adequate rather than proper, like, oh my god, it's so fast. But yeah, it's okay. I've been getting a real world 327 miles to a full charge, which is 2 miles more than I'm meant to be getting. Admittedly, I've not been caning it, but considering it's 3 degrees outside, I think that heat pump is probably helping, that standard fit heat pump. So I'm actually quite surprised by how much I like driving this car. It's not a Monaro. I wish they would bring the Monaro back, but I think there's more chance of me regrowing hair than that happening. That sounds like a conclusion. Let's hop over to the hybrid, talk about that briefly, and then we'll do a conclusion. As if by magic, I'm in the Grandland hybrid. So 1.2 litre petrol, 136 horsepower, a tiny sub 1 kilowatt hour battery. and half a ton lighter, and yeah, it does feel a lot lighter over bumps than the electric version. The ride is better, but not by orders of magnitude. They've done some clever stuff with that electric car to make it feel not quite as firm as you'd think, although it is a bit jiggly. This is just smoothing over stuff a bit better, but obviously it's not an electric car, it's a petrol car. They call it the hybrid. I think that's a little bit of a misnomer because it barely ever drives on electric power alone. If you're doing up to 10 miles an hour in town, it does, but really the petrol engine is being used most of the time. So it's really like a mild hybrid, really, but that's okay. And if you want a petrol Grandland that can do about 51 miles per gallon, this is obviously the only choice, but an okay one. It's a bit grumbly when you put your foot down because it's a 3-cylinder engine, and some people will warn you off this 1.2 litre PureTech engine. But gosh, this van driver is just driving at me. But performance-wise, it's actually fine. It's 10.1 to 60, so it's not going to set your hair on fire, but it's not that sort of car, really. And if you want to keep the costs down and don't want an electric version, this is a decent alternative. It is a decent alternative. Nothing earth-shattering, but were you expecting that? Let's go back to me for an overall conclusion on this completely newified Grandland. Can you tell it's cold and my brain has stopped working? I can. Right, time to sum up my thoughts on the new Vauxhall Grandland. It's the first Vauxhall I think I've ever had on the channel, weirdly, but I've driven a lot in the past 10 or so years, and they've never really impressed me in quite the way that this has. They've really inherited a really good platform from the new Peugeot 3008, but this is better than that car in some ways, such as the practicality. The rear headroom, the boot space is all better. It's a very practical family car, and Vauxhall's done a very clever thing of trying to make the EV as close in price as possible to the hybrid version, and I'm sure in the next couple of years depreciation will make the difference almost zero. But yeah, if you like the looks, I'm still not entirely convinced about the 3D grille. I think it looks a bit plasticky. And if you like the interior, which is very clever, very practical, and feels kind of high quality enough, then it's a very good family car. I'm really struggling to pick niggles with it. There's the usual things like the armrest doesn't adjust, and this hybrid isn't really much of a hybrid. I think it's quite a promising little car for Vauxhall, except it's not little. It is grand. It's grander than ever. It's better than ever. I'm actually going to give it 8.5 Tim Roadies out of 10. Well done, Vauxhall. I didn't think I'd be saying that. Now bring back the Maloo. We need a V8 powered pickup truck. Don't know what that accent was. I'm too cold. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Like, comment, subscribe, and go down to the comments actually and leave me the Luton word for, that's French, but a bit better. Goodbye.